I had it all planned out perfectly. The ring was burning a hole in my pocket as I rehearsed my proposal speech one last time. Sarah and I had been together for 3 years, and tonight, at our favorite restaurant, I was going to ask her to be my wife. My brother Jake had always been competitive with me throughout our lives, but I never imagined how far he would go. I arrived home early to prepare a few surprises before our dinner, but what I heard coming from our bedroom stopped me cold. Before I tell you how my brother destroyed my life that night, let me know where you are watching from. Drop a comment about the worst betrayal you have experienced, and subscribe to hear how this story changes everything you think about family. Growing up in Boston, Jake and I were always in competition. As the older brother by 2 years, I often had the advantage, but Jake never stopped trying to outdo me. Our parents loved us both, but they had this unconscious habit of comparing us, turning everything from Little League baseball to science fair projects into contests. When I became captain of the high school track team, Jake joined and broke my record the following year. When I got accepted to a prestigious architecture program, Jake switched his major from business to architecture too. By the time I turned 28, I had established myself as a successful architect at a well-respected firm in downtown Boston. I had my own apartment, a great group of friends, and a beautiful girlfriend named Sarah. We met at my college roommate Kevin's wedding 4 years earlier. I was a groomsman, and she was a bridesmaid. The moment I saw her walking down the aisle, I was captivated. Her auburn hair caught the light, and her smile lit up the entire church. During the reception, we were paired for photos, and the photographer joked about how natural we looked together. Sarah was an elementary school teacher with the most compassionate heart. She volunteered at animal shelters on weekends and organized book drives for underserved schools. Her students adored her, and so did I. After our first date, I knew she was special. We talked for hours about our dreams, our childhoods, and our favorite books. 3 months later, we were officially a couple. Our relationship grew stronger each day. After a year of dating, we moved in together. My parents welcomed her into the family immediately, especially my mother, who always wanted a daughter. Sarah fit in perfectly at our Sunday family dinners, charming everyone with her stories about her third graders and their antics. Everyone except Jake. The first time Jake met Sarah, I noticed something off about his behavior. He complimented her excessively, found excuses to touch her arm or shoulder when talking, and somehow managed to sit next to her at every family gathering. During those Sunday dinners, Jake would monopolize conversations with Sarah, asking about her day, her students, her hobbies, all while I sat across the table watching this unfold. There were moments when I caught Sarah looking uncomfortable, shifting away slightly when Jake sat too close, or changing the subject when his compliments became too personal. But I dismissed these interactions as my own jealousy and insecurity. After all, Sarah was with me. We shared a home, a life, and plans for the future. What could I possibly be worried about? As our 3rd anniversary approached, I decided it was time to take the next step. I spent weeks searching for the perfect engagement ring, finally selecting a vintage-style diamond that reminded me of the one Sarah had pointed out in a magazine months earlier. I made reservations at Bella Notte, the Italian restaurant where we had our first date. I even arranged for my best friend Tom to hide nearby with a camera to capture the moment when I got down on one knee. I told my parents about my plans 2 weeks before the proposal. Mom cried happy tears and hugged me tightly. Dad clapped me on the back and said he was proud. When Jake overheard the news, he offered a tight smile and a brief congratulations before leaving the room. I thought his reaction was odd, but I was too excited about my plans to give it much thought. Looking back, I should have noticed the changes in Sarah during those final weeks. She started working late more often, claiming after-school meetings or drinks with colleagues. She became protective of her phone, keeping it face down and taking calls in another room. She bought new clothes and changed her hairstyle. All classic signs, but I was blind to them. I trusted Sarah completely, never questioning her explanations or late-night text messages. Love had made me foolish. The morning of what should have been our engagement day, I woke up feeling nervous but excited. Sarah seemed distant at breakfast, barely touching her coffee and avoiding eye contact. When I kissed her goodbye, she pulled away quickly, saying she was meeting friends for lunch and would see me that evening. I headed to work, my mind filled with proposal plans rather than architectural designs. By early afternoon, I could not focus on work. I decided to leave early to set up a few surprises at home before our dinner. I planned to scatter rose petals from the door to our bedroom and place framed photos of our relationship milestones along the path. I wanted everything to be perfect when we returned from the restaurant as an engaged couple. As I drove down our street, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked a few houses away. Actually, not completely unfamiliar. It looked like the new Audi Jake had been bragging about purchasing last month. I felt a twinge of unease, but pushed it aside. Jake probably stopped by to wish me luck, I thought. Maybe he felt bad about his lukewarm reaction to my engagement news. I unlocked the front door quietly, thinking I might surprise Sarah if she had returned home early from lunch. The apartment was silent, except for faint sounds coming from our bedroom. Music, perhaps. As I moved closer, the sounds became clearer. Not music. Voices. Moans. My body went cold. This could not be happening. Not today. Not with Sarah. I stood frozen outside our bedroom door, for what felt like an eternity, my mind refusing to process what my ears were telling me. Then, driven by some masochistic need for confirmation, I pushed the door open. There they were, Sarah and Jake, in our bed, the bed I had made that morning, the room where I had planned to scatter rose petals in just a few hours. The world tilted beneath my feet. My stomach lurched, and for a moment I thought I might be sick. Sarah screamed and pulled the sheets up to cover herself. Jake looked up, and for one brief moment I saw not shock or shame on his face, but something that resembled triumph. What does one say in such a moment? The scripts from movies and TV shows flew through my mind, but nothing seemed adequate for the magnitude of this betrayal. I stood silently watching as they scrambled for clothes, as if covering their bodies could somehow erase what I had witnessed. Sarah spoke first, her voice breaking. "Reynaldo, I can explain," she said, as if there could possibly be an explanation that would make this acceptable. Jake pulled on his pants and stood to face me. "This is not how we wanted you to find out," he said, as if their consideration for my feelings was somehow relevant now. How long, I managed to ask, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. Sarah looked at Jake before answering. 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. A quarter of a year. All those late nights and text messages suddenly made sense. While I was planning our future, selecting rings and rehearsing proposals, they were betraying me. In my home. In my bed. "She was always more interested in me anyway," Jake said, his tone almost casual. "You must have noticed how she lights up when I walk into a room. How she laughs at my jokes." His words struck like physical blows. Had I noticed? Had I ignored the signs because I could not bear to see the truth? In my shock, I reached into my pocket, fingers closing around the small velvet box that contained the ring. Without thinking, I pulled it out, the action so rehearsed from my proposal practice that it felt automatic. The box fell from my trembling hand, popping open as it hit the floor. The diamond caught the afternoon light, throwing prisms across the wall. Sarah gasped when she saw it. "Today," she asked, her voice small. "You were going to propose today." The absurdity of her question broke something inside me. Tears I had been holding back flooded my eyes, and a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob escaped my throat. "Yes, Sarah. Today. At Bellinot." I had it all planned out. Jake looked at the ring, then at me, and I could swear I saw a flicker of regret cross his face. But it was quickly replaced by the defensive posture I had seen him adopt countless times when caught doing something wrong as a child. "Look, Reynaldo, these things happen. People fall in love. You cannot control the heart. Love." He dared to call this love. I could not stay in that room another second. I turned and walked out, ignoring Sarah calling my name. I got in my car and drove, no destination in mind, just needing to put distance between myself and the wreckage of my life. I ended up at Tom's apartment, collapsing on his couch, as the full weight of what had happened finally hit me. As I poured out the story to my horrified friend, my phone exploded with notifications. My parents were calling. When I finally answered, I discovered Jake had already contacted them with his version of events, painting himself as a man who could not help falling in love. My mother was distraught, struggling to reconcile her image of her sons with this new reality. My father incredibly suggested that brothers have always competed for the same things, as if Sarah were simply a prize to be won, rather than a person who had made her own terrible choices. The following days passed in a blur. Sarah moved out while I stayed at Tom's place, unable to return to the apartment, filled with memories now tainted. When I finally went home, I discovered she had taken not only her belongings, but several items that held deep sentimental value for me, including the watch my grandfather had given me before he died, and the first architectural model I had built in college. Within weeks, Sarah and Jake were publicly dating, showing up together at family events and posting pictures on social media. My mother tried to maintain relationships with both of us, but my father seemed to accept Jake's betrayal with disturbing ease. Family gatherings became battlegrounds of tension and awkward silences. The final straw came when Jake brought Sarah to my cousin's wedding, where they slow danced beneath the same lights that illuminated my humiliation. I could not bear to watch my brother hold the woman I had planned to marry, seeing them whisper and laugh together as if their relationship had not been built on my pain. I made a decision that night. Boston held too many memories, too many chances of painful encounters. I needed a fresh start, somewhere, far away. Within a month, I had accepted a position at an architectural firm in Seattle, and was packing my life into boxes, leaving behind the only home I had ever known. Seattle welcomed me with its misty mornings and vibrant cultural scene. My new firm appreciated my East Coast training and fresh design perspectives. I found an apartment with a view of Puget Sound and slowly began rebuilding my life, one careful brick at a time, like the architectural structures I designed. The first year was the hardest. I focused entirely on work, avoiding social invitations, and keeping to myself. Nightmares about Sarah and Jake plagued me, and trust felt like a foreign concept. At the urging of a concerned colleague, I started seeing a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. Dr. Keller helped me understand that what I had experienced was not just heartbreak, but a profound breach of trust from the two people who should have been most loyal. My contact with family dwindled to occasional phone calls with my mother. She told me with obvious reluctance that Sarah and Jake had married in a small ceremony. She had attended, feeling obligated as Jake's mother, but said the day had felt wrong without me there. My father fully embraced Jake and Sarah, seemingly forgetting the circumstances of their relationship. This created a rift between my parents that would eventually lead to their divorce years later. 2 years into my Seattle life, I attended an architectural conference in Portland. During a panel discussion on sustainable urban development, I met Amanda, an environmental engineer, whose intelligent questions and passionate advocacy impressed me. We ended up talking over coffee after the session, and for the first time since Sarah, I felt a spark of interest. Amanda and I moved slowly. I was cautious, my trust issues manifesting in subtle ways that she patiently navigated. When I finally told her about Sarah and Jake, she listened without judgment, then shared her own story of a college boyfriend who had cheated with her roommate. Her understanding created a bond between us, a mutual recognition of pain and healing. 3 years after meeting Amanda, I proposed during a kayaking trip on Lake Washington. No fancy restaurant, no elaborate plans that could be derailed. Just the two of us, the water, and a simple question asked from the heart. She said yes, and we were married 6 months later in a ceremony attended by close friends, my mother, and Amanda's large, boisterous family. Our daughter Lily arrived a year later, a perfect blend of Amanda's blonde curls and my dark eyes. Becoming a father transformed me in ways I had never anticipated. As I held my daughter for the first time, I made a silent promise to protect her from the kind of pain I had experienced to create a family built on loyalty and trust. My architectural firm thrived, and by Lily's 5th birthday, I had opened my own practice. Amanda continued her environmental work, and we created a life filled with hiking trips, community involvement, and quiet family evenings. The pain of Boston receded, becoming a distant chapter rather than the defining story of my life. Jake attempted contact several times over the years. Birthday cards, Christmas greetings, even a congratulatory note when news of my firm's success appeared in a national architecture magazine. I returned them all unopened. Sarah never reached out directly, though my mother mentioned that she had asked about me on occasion. The family fracture had lasting consequences. After 35 years of marriage, my parents divorced. My mother cited the tension over Jake's betrayal as a contributing factor, saying my father's easy acceptance of it had revealed fundamental differences in their values. She moved to Seattle shortly after, wanting to be closer to me and her granddaughter. My father remained in Boston, maintaining his relationship with Jake and Sarah, who now had 2 children of their own. As Lily grew, she naturally became curious about my side of the family. I shared stories about my mother's parents and our ancestors who had immigrated from Italy, but I carefully avoided mention of Jake. When Lily asked directly about whether she had uncles or aunts, I gave vague answers about family members living far away. It was not a lie precisely, but it was an omission that grew more difficult to maintain as she got older. Amanda respected my decision not to discuss Jake and Sarah with Lily, though she gently suggested that someday our daughter would need to know the full story. Not all families are perfect, she would say. Knowing that might actually help her navigate her own relationships someday. During holidays, cards would arrive from Jake's family addressed to all 3 of us. I would set them aside, unopened, or discreetly dispose of them. Lily, observant, even as a young child, eventually noticed this pattern. "Why do you throw away some cards without reading them?" she asked one Christmas when she was 12. I mumbled something about junk mail and changed the subject. As Lily entered her teen years, her questions became more pointed. She knew her grandmother had been married before, that there was a grandfather in Boston she had never met. During a visit when Lily was 16, my mother accidentally mentioned your uncle's son in conversation. The look on Lily's face told me the carefully constructed wall between my past and present was beginning to crumble. The catalyst came when Lily turned 20. A junior in college studying psychology, she had developed a keen interest in family dynamics and generational patterns. One evening she called from school, her voice excited but hesitant. "Dad, something weird happened today," she said. "Someone named Tyler reached out to me on social media saying he thinks he's my cousin. He says his father is your brother. Do I have a cousin I do not know about?" My heart raced as I realized Jake's son had found Lily. I tried to deflect, saying I would explain next time she visited, but Lily was persistent. "Dad, I already talked to Grandma. She told me everything." During her last visit with my mother, Lily had asked direct questions about our family history. My mother, perhaps feeling the weight of decades of secrets, had told Lily about Jake and Sarah. Not all the details, but enough for Lily to understand there had been a significant betrayal that led to my leaving Boston. When Lily came home for spring break the following week, she confronted me directly. "Why did you never tell me I have an uncle, an aunt, and 2 cousins? 20 years of my life. And you hid an entire branch of our family from me." I tried to explain that my decision had been about protection, not deception. "Some wounds run too deep, Lily. Some betrayals change the course of your life. But they are still family," she insisted. "Tyler is getting married this summer, and he invited me to the wedding. I want to go." The thought of Lily entering Jake and Sarah's world sent panic through me. What if history repeated itself? What if she was hurt by the people who had already proven themselves capable of extraordinary betrayal? "Absolutely not," I said more sharply than I intended. "You do not know these people." "That is exactly the problem," Lily shot back. "I do not know them because you decided I should not. That was not your decision to make, Dad. I am 20 years old. I get to choose who is in my life. Amanda, who had been quietly listening to our argument, finally spoke. Lily, try to understand your father's perspective. And Ray, remember that Lily is not you. Her relationship with her cousins would be entirely different from your relationship with Jake. Over the next few days, the tension in our house was palpable. Lily spent most of her time in her room, emerging only for meals eaten in strained silence. I found myself reliving the betrayal, the wound reopened and raw once again. Then Jake called. After 26 years, hearing his voice sent me straight back to that bedroom doorway, seeing him with Sarah. He sounded older, his voice lacking the cockiness I remembered. Ray, I know I am probably the last person you want to hear from, he began. But Tyler told me he contacted Lily, and I wanted to reach out myself. I understand if you hang up. I would not blame you. I stayed silent, unsure why I had not already ended the call. I have been sober for 12 years now, Jake continued. Part of my recovery has been making amends for the harm I have caused. What I did to you was unforgivable. I know that. I am not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know that not a day goes by that I do not regret destroying our relationship. Before I could respond, an email notification popped up on my computer screen. From Sarah. The subject line read simply, "Long overdue apology." It seemed the past was determined to confront me all at once. Amanda suggested we consider family therapy a neutral space where Lily and I could work through the complicated emotions this situation had stirred up. During our first session, Lily expressed feelings I had never considered. All my life I have felt like part of me was missing, she said. I knew there were secrets, things no one would talk about. Finding out about this whole other side of my family actually explains so much, and I am angry that I had to find out this way from a stranger on the internet instead of from my own father. The therapist asked me to consider whether my protection had become a form of control. You cannot protect Lily from every potential hurt, she said gently, but you can support her as she makes her own choices about family relationships. After several sessions, I realized I needed to meet Jake face to face before I could make any decision about Lily attending the wedding. 26 years of hurt and anger could not be resolved over the phone or through proxies. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop halfway between Seattle and Portland, where Jake now lived. Walking in and seeing him sitting there gray, now threading his hair, was surreal. For a moment, I considered turning around and leaving, but I had come this far. Our conversation was awkward at first, decades of silence creating a chasm between us. Jake explained that his drinking had started in college and escalated after our fallout, eventually leading to problems in his marriage and career. His sobriety had forced him to confront the damage he had caused, particularly to me. Sarah and I, he said, then paused. What we did was inexcusable. We were selfish and cruel. The relationship was built on something terrible, and we have had to live with that. It took years of therapy for both of us to understand the depth of the harm we caused. I listened, trying to determine if his remorse was genuine or convenient. Why reach out now after all this time? I have tried before. He reminded me. The cards, the calls. But I understood why you rejected them. When Tyler told us he had found Lily, Sarah, and I agreed he should not pursue contact without speaking to me first. But Tyler is 24 and made his own decision. When he told us he had invited Lily to the wedding, I knew I needed to talk to you directly. By the end of our conversation, I had decided to allow Lily to attend the wedding if she still wanted to, but with conditions. I would not attend myself, not yet ready for a reunion with Sarah. Jake and Sarah would respect that Lily's relationship with them would be separate from any potential reconciliation between us. And most importantly, they would understand that I was permitting this connection for Lily's sake, not because all was forgiven. When I told Lily my decision, her face lit up in a way that confirmed I was making the right choice, however difficult. Thank you, Dad, she said, hugging me tightly. This means everything to me. The journey to healing old wounds is rarely straightforward. As I watched Lily prepare for her cousin's wedding, selecting a dress and wondering about what her relatives would be like, I reflected on the strange path that had led us here. 26 years ago, I thought my life had ended when I discovered Jake and Sarah's betrayal. Instead, it had taken a different direction, one that brought me to Amanda, to Lily, to a successful career, and a fulfilling life in Seattle. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means choosing not to let the pain continue to control your life. I have not fully forgiven Jake or Sarah, and I may never do. But I have learned that I can set boundaries that protect my heart while still allowing my daughter to form her own relationships. Family is complicated. The blood ties that bind us can both nurture and wound us. As Lily explores her relationship with her extended family, she does so with open eyes, knowing the history but making her own choices about what role these relatives will play in her life. What would you do if you were in my position? Would you allow your child to form relationships with family members who had betrayed you so deeply? Or would you maintain the distance that has protected your peace for decades? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button to hear more real-life experiences about family betrayal and the difficult path to healing. Like this video if you believe in second chances, or share it with someone who might be struggling with family estrangement. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember that while we cannot choose the family we are born into, we can choose how we respond to the hand we are dealt. Sometimes the family we create is more important than the one we came from.